Everyone, it's Andrea. Welcome to my channel. I'm here with a bonus Love Your Stash project that I have created with a current paper pack and then brought in some of my stash. I began with some pieces that I had left over from my Eat, Play, Love scrapbook workshop kit. I made all 6 of these beautiful pages, just made a few minor changes to this layout. I added a zip strip on one of the pages, and I just wanted to show you what was left in my kit and what I'm planning. So let's look at what is in that bag of mine. The great thing about these kits is that there's never really a lot left when I'm done. Here's this full sheet of cardstock. I do have the whole page left, but I don't want to use it again because it's kind of redundant. So I'm going to set that aside. I've got some patterned cardstock here that's exclusive to the kit, along with lots of scraps of cherry cardstock, a few zip strips, some solid cardstock, the word sweet, which I might use, came from that little punch out. The word family is left on my sticker sheet, but I'm not going to use it. I'm going to save that for another project. And we're going to see what I can create. So I've gone upstairs and I've cut out some Cricut cuts for my Eat, Play, Love Cricut Collection. It's a digital image collection. And while I was cutting these out, I found some photos of my daughter, Emma, and her cousin, Nicholas. And we visited a farm last summer, a nearby farm stand, and we were surprised to find that Farmer Tony had a little pig right by the farm stand, and he was a very social little pig, so we took some pictures with him. He was cute. These were on my desk because it's something I've always wanted to scrapbook, and although the Eat, Play, Love collection is very much geared towards food and baking and cooking together, I also thought it felt like the perfect country life kind of shabby chic pattern to me. And so I thought it would work perfectly for these photos that I have here. Now, the nice thing about this collection is that when you go into Cricut, everything's going to cut to size. It was easy to go ahead and cut out. The lace doilies are really impressive. I used 2 pieces of white daisy cardstock that were not from my stash, but everything else that I used on this layout was from my stash. So that was great to do. Now, you'll see I have some Peacock photo mats here. They were even cut out of a full sheet of cardstock. They were cut out of some remnants that I had laying in a scrap bag. So I really tried to use up bits and pieces of things that I already had. In addition to all of these Cricut cuts, I knew I needed 2 base pages. So I went searching through my stash and I pulled out my No Worries paper collection, what was left of it. And you'll see I've got lots of bits and pieces because I make kits for my customers and friends. I selected the No Worries paper pack because, quite honestly, I had 2 full sheets of background paper here that I thought would match beautifully. But when I put that doily against the side that I thought I'd use, it didn't work so well. So I took this water sheet and I turned it so that the waves of water, instead of running horizontally, they ran vertically on my page, and it just looked a lot better. It's no longer so, it doesn't look like just water to me. Now here is the Cricut collection that I've decided to use, and you can see I cut out some of the circles. They were supposed to be green, cut them out in pieces that were left from my Eat, Play, Love. And these little flower clusters, I decided to make them bigger and make 3 of those clusters because I did away with the mixer and I also did away with the set of bowls because I didn't want this to be a kitchen layout any longer. Now I love these Versamats because I line up the points at the 6-inch mark. And by doing so, it centers them from left to right as well. So these Versamats are a really handy tool for both stamping on the other side and for lining things up. And I usually use 2, but clearly I have too much stuff over on the right side. So again, I'm just looking at the layout to see where things line up, and I'm using those little dots on the doily as my guide. I'm not so much measuring as I am just using that Versamat to eyeball. Now I've got out my Candy Apple Distress ink and I've just simply inked the edges of one of these circles. And I'm just using, like I said, using that Cricut layout as my guide. And I'm putting it down where I'd like it to be. And again, I'm just dovetailing these little pennants. I could have let the Cricut cut them, but I'm not cutting them exactly to size. I'm just using what I had in my stash, and that's the idea of this exercise. And I'm just putting them pretty close to where the Cricut Design Space file says to, but I'm making it my own. Now, this is something I really wanted to show you. This is No Worries paper. It's a distressed wood kind of paper. It looks weathered, like it belongs on the boardwalk down the shore. Bringing in my all-purpose mat, and I just wanted to show you this. I thought this was a special technique that I learned at Album Retreat. I want to make this look like it's barn red. In order to match up with the barn color in my photos, I'm pulling out my Candied Apple Distressed ink, and I am using this foam tool to just go in circles over this barnwood. And I do believe that it's taking this weathered pickled wood and it is giving it a reddish hue that will tie into the barn in the photos. Now, I go in circles when I'm applying this, and when I originally started using the Distress Oxide ink that close to my heart now carries, I was pressing too hard and I was getting lots of the circle imprints. So I find that I go a little bit gentle and then I just layer the color as I need to. And it really, really comes to life. I just think it's a neat technique because you could take these neutral colored pieces of barnwood or cardstock of any sort and you could create ombre effects, or you could change it into any colors that you want that we carry. And it's so neat. So it could be, a coral color, or it could be mowed grass, mowed lawn, I think it is. In any case, you could just come up with all different beautiful colors. And while I have out the Distress Oxide ink, I'm going to actually ink the flowers. So you can see this side is not inked and the right-hand side is. So I'm going to continue to do that because I just like that it adds some extra color. So you'll see me add that to more of these flowers. Adding that ink just gives those flowers more depth, and that is, after all, what I'm going for, a little more definition. Now I have some nice inky fingers, and the nice thing is I grab a baby wipe and it not only cleans up my fingers, but it cleans up that all-purpose crafting mat. It's one of my favorite close to my heart tools, along with a Versamat. Now I'm just going to dovetail and add more ink down at the dovetail and place these weathered wood pieces. Just love how that mimics the barn. Can't help it. I have these fancy zip strips and I am just cutting off a little tiny portion of each, and I'm going to see where they look good. Just like the subtle patterns and how they build. I think the key with pattern is that you can mix them in subtle doses. I just really think that you don't want to cover your whole page in patterns that are just overwhelming. Your eye needs some places to rest. And so I think having these little doses and little strips is good. Now I've trimmed down a few of my photos to fit the photo mats that cut out in the Cricut Design Space. And some of them are meant just to keep the photos 4x6, like these two here. The other ones were a little smaller, but that's okay. And I'm just going to move all these pieces now off the right-hand side. I'm going to bring in the base page because I really need to start building this page. I'll reference that photo again, but I need to start building it because I need to see where these photos are going to fit. I did change the orientation. The actual Design Space file had a lot of these photos going in the landscape, the landscape format, and my photos definitely weren't. It's okay. I'm just going to switch things around, and that's why I love the flexibility of these projects in Cricut Design Space that Close to My Heart has. I actually wish we had more layouts. They're so much fun when we get one. I think with some of the new collections that are coming out, we might have another one of these layouts also. They're just lots of fun to jump off with and to see where you can go with them. I'm going to bring in that yellow piece here, the circle that was cut out of that special bonus paper that comes just in that scrapbooking kit. And I am now going over it. Forgive me, I can't remember the name of that color. I think it was pumice stone. So I just put a little bit of that around the edges because I just want it to separate from that white doily and jump off the page a little bit. Now I'm just going to play with photo placement and see. I have this little tag that I cut out of a scrap of an old red glitter paper that I had. And you can see there was actually some stamping on it, but I went ahead and cut out this piece, and you can't even see those little black marks. They just look like a pattern now on my red glitter paper. So I've used that. So far I've used No Worries paper. I've used the Eat, Play, Love collection. I have used Peacock cardstock that was just left in my scrap bin. I'm going to use some of the red glitter paper that's left over. So I think that's up to like 5 different things for my stash so far. I am using my brand new Close to My Heart tweezers, and I am layering. I cut the word farm with Cricut Access, cut it out twice, once in ballerina and once in red glitter, that red glitter scrap. And you might ask why I did the ballerina. Well, that little pink pig didn't have any representation on the page. So I just needed to bring in just a touch of pink somewhere. And I thought that was a great way to do it, was to go ahead and just make it a shadow. Now, foam tape is a must to pop some of these photos off of my pages. I just think that it just adds some definition to have things at different levels. You've heard me say that before. And I'm going to fuss with this a bit and see where I want it to go. So looks good there. And then I'm going to work on the right hand side photo placement. There we go. So what I try to do is, I know the photos are all different sizes, but using my Versamats as a guide, I could tell that these were about 3¼ inches down from the top, the 2 photos that are on the right hand side of both pages. I just feel like I don't like to have 4 varying points of photos on my page if I can help it. I try to line some things up just so it's just easier on my eyes once again. Now, I've cut some flowers out of the leftover cardstock. Like I told you, these were all part of that Design Space file. I just sized them up. And I'm putting them with some foam tape, and the foam tape is going to hold these wooden buttons for my stash as well. It's going to hold those in place on top of the openings of the flowers. And the wooden buttons, I think, are like item number 5 or 6 now. And I have just done them in clusters of 3. And I made 3 big flowers, 3 medium flowers, 3 small flowers, and I alternated the colors because I wanted to have 3 unique clusters around my layout. I think that this little tag for journaling is going to look great down there. And I'm just starting to lay out the rest of the flowers and figure those out. So I'm going to continue putting some foam tape on the back of each of these flowers, and then go ahead and put some wood buttons, and you'll see me fuss with those for a minute. I bring in my liquid glue once again because sometimes the foam wasn't seen through the opening, so I just secure down the wood buttons, and I fuss with them for a little bit. I just love these wood buttons. I have several bags of them because I definitely hoard some supplies. Foam tape's another thing that I can't, I just can't run out of. These buttons just make the perfect centers for flowers. They make the perfect little design elements all over your pages, and I use them time and time again. They've really become a favorite of mine. And they really also take the distress ink well. I left them kind of plain in this particular layout because I felt like we had enough color going on that I didn't need to add. I kind of liked the neutral color, the wood tone of those buttons, so I kept those. And I'm just working on the last couple here. And then I decide that I don't really like the placement of this one, so I try moving it down. I lose the button. It's just something was feeling off there, so I fuss with things till they really make me happy. And I went and I pulled out some of my old ribbon. I have a box full of it, and I found this stitched peacock ribbon. So I'm just quickly tying another bow or so. So I don't know, like I said, we're up to about 6 things for my stash now. And just going to fuss with the placement of that. And I think another bow is in order. I know this layout's looking a little girly, but There's a lot of blue in it. And you know what? My nephew's not going to see the layout. My daughter will. So I'm putting bows on it. That's a, creative license here. And I've actually attached those with some foam tape. Found these old enamel hearts. I don't know how long ago, when they came out, but I've had them for a long time, and I think it's about time that I show them some love too. So another thing for my stash. So I don't know, all in all, we probably used like 8 things for my stash, and that's great. It's always a great feeling to use up your stash. It's nice to see this large collection sitting on the shelf as long as it doesn't stress you. It stresses me to have so much. So I really, really want to make an impact on my stash this year in a positive way. Not only am I using it to create my own layouts, but if there are a lot of, leftover sheets of paper or something, I have been using it to repurpose and make new and unique things for my customers. And I really think that it just feels so good to lighten my load. And then I don't feel so guilty when I move on and purchase a new collection from close to my heart. Now there's these bitty, bitty leaves that go with the flowers, and somehow I found this extra flower, but I think I'm just going to scrap that for now. But the little leaves, I'm just going to put little dots of glue, and using my new tweezers, I'm just going to put a flower, a petal, a leaf petal or two next to each of these flowers. Probably not on the big ones. I think that they will just get lost if I try to put one of them next to the big flowers. You'll see in my final video, my final photo in this video, that I did use my black journaling pen, and I went around the outsides of the layouts. I went around the yellow banners, and I also added some shadowing to the pink ballerina farm shadow. And I really think that this layout came together beautifully, and I'm so impressed with what I was able to use for my stash. If you'd like to play along with our creative design team's challenge, use the hashtag CDTLoveYourStash so we know that you're creating along with us. I'm going to list all of the videos of the members of our design team that have played along this particular month of April down in my video's description. And if you've not already become one of my subscribers, I would love it if you subscribe to my channel. And be sure to hit the notification bell as well so you don't miss any of my upcoming projects. Thanks for watching today, and I hope you have a creative day.